What I found very interesting, and you can probably give some examples of this, is some of these guys did suck. There's no other way to say it. But at the same time, they were also so integral in creating what we know as New York City nowadays. Which means it's one thing to hand wave something away because, somebody was friends with him, they made him a statue. It's another thing where this guy is a robber baron and there's a lot of things we don't like about him, but he also made sure he was an architect that made sure these things that are so indelibly New York. Anybody jump to your mind when you talk about that, where they might not have the best humanitarian side of them, but as far as architecture, it's hard to divorce them from New York.
Yeah, well, there's this cohort of white men that I call bureaucrats with roads. There are people like Major Deegan and Henry Bruckner and Arthur Sheridan who were instrumental in building the New York that we know in some fashion or other. And that's why they have a road named after them. They were not terribly impressive people in and of themselves. I mean, Henry Bruckner, for example, before he became the Bronx president, right? The boroughs of New York, for listeners who don't know this, New York is made up of 5 boroughs, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, and Staten Island, and each one has a president. So Henry Bruckner was the president of the Bronx, and it's sort of a mostly ceremonial position, but you get an official expense account. And before he became the Bronx president, he had a soda company, and this was during Prohibition. And so he made a fortune selling soft drinks when people couldn't buy hard drinks that had alcohol in them. And then he went into politics, and he was a congressional representative where he missed well over 50% of the votes. He was almost never there. And then he became Bronx Borough president, where he promptly got swept up in massive corruption scandals. So why is something named after him? It's a really good question. He was Robert Moses adjacent, and Robert Moses built almost all the roads and bridges and parks that we have in the city. And he was apparently very well liked, despite being a crook.